Found myself at Orly Airport with no transport to CBS in the centre of Paris. But finally we've made it and walked in, and there was Mick Jagger sitting with his feet up on the desk looking at the sales figures for the American version of the album that you're going to hear on this program. And he was concerned about that, but not terribly worried. After about half an hour and a cup of tea, we made it downstairs to a little basement area, sat down and chatted. And the first thing I wanted to find out about talking to Mick, and it was the first time I'd ever met Mick, was the fact that, of course, now no one really knows about his private life. Everybody reads inflammatory stories. I've been looking at the clippings from the BBC Press Library, and everybody says extraordinary things about Jagger, but of course he now, along with Jerry, has a 1-year-old daughter. And I asked him if he enjoyed the business of being a rock star and a father.
I enjoy very much being a father. You know, it's wonderful. It has its drawbacks.
What are they?
Well, these horrible, snotty little kids, you know, yelling at you. And then you got, you know, when they're very nice and they do great things, you know, you feel proud of them, and they remind you of, you know, how horrible you were. I was a darn sight worse, actually, than, you know, but I mean, I have daughters and I was a boy, so it's slightly different.
When did you play the father thing and go in and stand on your knee?
Yeah, well, no, it's important that they see their father, you know, to recognise him in the future. Seriously, though, I think that it's not something to be really worried about, being soft about. I mean, you have to kind of, at an early age, sort of show them the way and give them some security. And I think that helped me a lot in life, is having, I come from a very secure family.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of people don't. And it helped me a lot in life knowing that I had a secure family background. It helped me be crazy and yet be secure at the same time.
You do have a good sense of humour.
Well, yeah, I hope so.
I mean, you seem to laugh a lot.
Yeah.
What actually amuses you on a day-to-day basis? What actually, when you walk out of here and you're with people you know, will you laugh about apart from this?
I was laughing at this boat the other day. I went out of here and there was this guy, look, a real nice guy, but he just put this bird into a taxi and he's got a hat on, he's got this trilby hat, and he very politely and worldly raises it as he puts her in a cab, which I thought was kind of nice. And then he goes back to the curb and he raises it, and then she's gone 100 yards down the road and he's still raising it. I'm sitting there, I mean, I don't know, this doesn't sound very funny, but he kept raising it all the way, and she's gone out of the distance, she's still raising the cat. Must have been a bit of a nutter. English people have a very odd sense of humour, I think. Most other nationalities have difficulty in understanding them. I found that in the songs. For instance, I went into a room full of Scandinavian journalists the other day, and it's very, very serious. And they think all these songs are very serious. After they've had a few beers, I convinced them otherwise. What I'm trying to say is there is a difference in their nationalities, for instance, which is quite funny. I mean, the Scandinavians were a bit cold and then they warmed up, whereas the Spanish, which I had to do 10 minutes later, was so warm and like embracing me and like hell from the heart. You know, it's very difficult to switch a bit of personality, you know, that they wanted to see. You know, they wanted to see a certain person.
Here you are, doing none too badly, and having done none too badly over the last 20 years or so, and you're recording the first solo album, and a lot of people would say, why the hell is he bothering? Why isn't he selling himself somewhere?
Actually, selling myself is when I wrote the songs for this album. I've been working on the Stones album Undercover, and we did some videos called Video Rewind, and that almost was a year I've been working on the Stones. And I went away to Barbados to, as you say, sun myself. And I think it was March '84. And I wrote most of the tunes on this record in like a 2-week period while I was doing that. So I went away and did the demos of the sort of 12 songs I'd written. And they came out really quite instantly, and I rather liked them. So I thought, okay, here you go, Mick. Might as well go and make a solo album. I'd signed this contract with CBS with the rest of the Stones to do 4 Stones records, and they wanted me to do 2 solo albums, and I'd thought about it before, you know, and everyone said I would do it, but it's quite a lot of work, mate, just making Stones albums for me, you know. It was like production, writing the songs, and also singing and playing a bit. It does seem like a bit like hard work, but I went through a period, you know, you get lazy, and then you go through periods of working very hard, and this is one of my periods of working hard.
The new Mick Jagger album, She's the Boss. Now, by this time, Mick had relaxed a little. 2 lagers had appeared, and we were starting to talk as people talking rather than interviewer talking to interviewee. One of the interesting things that I observed about Mick was that he never raised his voice. he just chatted away. But if he wanted something, and he said, could I please have something, because he was always immaculately polite, that something appeared within 10 seconds, or there was a slight furrowing of the brow. We got onto the subject of movies, because back in the late 60s, early 70s, Mick made Ned Kelly, and I wondered why he never followed that up.
Yeah, the 70s are a funny period, really. I was very silly in turning down one or two movies in the 70s, which I should have done.
What did you turn down?
One thing I turned down, which I think I should have done, was called The Great Train Robbery, which was actually done by Sean Connery. And
But what made you turn that sort of thing down?
I don't know why I turned that down. It was probably On the Road, something like that. You know, there's not that many good movies that are made, one. There's not that many good parts that are offered, one.
No, but having done Ned Kelly, it looked like you were going to periodically do movies.
Well, I
must say that I don't think Ned Kelly was as bad as a lot of people
No, it wasn't that bad, but it got very badly reviewed.
That was because of you, wasn't it?
And I went back on the road with the Stones. That was a serious kind of music move. I spent all, after doing Ned Kelly, I was just music tours. And if you want to be an actor, you know, you can't really do that. After I've done this next Stones project, maybe, you know, I can get, you know, something together. Whether I'm going to produce it myself, which is what I love doing, is getting involved in. I love to act. Just acting, you know, I don't mind to be directed and being told what to do.
Don't you?
No, not at all. It's a nice discipline. But I also like to be involved in the rest of the part of the movie and being able to say, well, that was, you know, this is an interesting story, but this character needs to be changed. And
it just interests me that a lot of strong people actually quite like giving themselves up to some kind of direction in some angle of their lives.
Yeah.
They actually quite like to be told
it's
what
true,
to do.
you do, because you get fed up with having to direct everybody else. And that's what I mean, it's a different kind of discipline. I don't mind to get up at 5 in the morning and be told what to do by someone who perhaps I don't agree with everything they do. And perhaps the movie's not going to come out that great, but, you know, it's another discipline.
I want to go back to the mid-70s, when punk came along. And suddenly everybody was cocking a snook at the Stones and at Jagger in particular. He's over the hill was a pretty easy phrase to use. Did that bother you at the time?
The Clash, that was the ones that said that most. Whatever happened to the Clash? Actually, I rather like the band. Do you remember that record, The Magnificent Dance? It's one of my favourite ones they did. And I think without that, being told you're a bunch of... I mean, it made me feel that I should sort of get a bit more energy into the music.
What do you mean it made you feel? Did you read it and get cross?
No, it wasn't reading it. It was listening to some of the stuff that like the Clash and some of the other bands and going to see them live. That made you feel, I mean, we've been doing that, obviously, you know, rock and roll is all about retreads, there's nothing really new in it. It's all about fashion and clothes and retreads and you know, you think, hey, yeah, wow, okay, a bit more energy, I get it, forgot about that for a minute. But, you know, and back into that, and I think that we made one of the best records of that period, called Some Girls.
Here's a cut from that. Some Girls, the album, the track is Miss You. Some Girls. On the flight over, it's only a 45-minute hop, as you know, to Paris from London. On the flight over, I had my first opportunity to listen to the album, the new album, She's the Boss by Mick Jagger. And I was listening to it on headphones, as a result of which I nearly got myself in severe trouble with the air hostess. The Air France lady couldn't understand why I was falling about so much, but I was listening to one cut called She's the Boss, which is the title track, and I asked Mick what the background to the song was. It was so funny.
Actually, it's an extemporised song really, that I made up in the studio, and I didn't really have any of the lyrics at all. I just was making them up as I went along. As to who it's about the modern American New York female executive and that kind of lifestyle, and the poor guy that's kind of worried about his earning power, or maybe he's out of a job or whatever, and about him giving in to the situation and staying at home. He says, hey, it's all over, the party's over, you know. His kind of dominant period is over. Mind you, I mean, it's not supposed to be taken totally seriously like most of my songs. I mean, English people find it easy to take all this stuff tongue-in-cheek, but trying to convince some of the other nationalities where the humour lies. But I mean,
is the American female executive going to be amused by it?
Oh yeah, they love this one. They when I played it to all the that kind of person, that was their favourite track of the whole record, because they take it totally seriously. I mean, and so that just the title "She's the Boss" was enough for them to make it their favourite track.
Stay home, my child. Stay home with me.
The only thing that annoys me about this is I can't play it to you on compact disc. The album is brilliant. Tomorrow, Mick Jagger but his liking for cricket and also his enthusiasm for football, which I didn't know about his father, about poverty in this country and poverty in Brazil, the soft side of his nature, and about a certain incident that took place while they were making the video in Brazil between Jagger and a murderer.
That's what people still do, or they go to America. I mean, I would, I'd say to someone, hey, I was talking to Charlie, his daughter is sort of almost at the age where she's going to leave school, and she's not going to get a job. I mean, not easily anyway. And she's going to have to go to America or something, and just because you've got 8 O-levels, I mean, when with Charlie and I were saying when we were kids, if you had 8 O-levels, you were more or less automatic. You had a choice of a job. We're going back, to the swinging 60s, and we had a choice of jobs, but now you won't get a job at all necessarily. So that's a great difference.
Listening to the album on the way over to Paris, there's a very 60s sounding track on this new album, very orchestral, it's very lush, called Hard Woman, yes?
Yeah, it's a ballad really. It's the only ballad. I mean, I think one ballad on the album's enough.
I think you're throwing it away actually, because it's more than a ballad, it's a beautiful song.
Well, thank you. As I say, you can write ballads. I find quite easy to write, but the good one is hard to find. That's the thing, and selecting it. And when I was doing the vocals, I did it real straight and very white. Like, I would sing it like Angie or something, like, with no real kind of twists or inflections in the voice, or like you was referring to the 60s, like Ruby Tuesday. I don't know if you remember that one. That was really straight without inflections, which is great. It works sometimes. But then when I listened to it at home, I thought, no. I should really go in and do it with a slightly bit more of a twist like Marvin Gaye or something. I'm not saying I can sing it like Marvin Gaye because I can't, but I tried to put in a few of those twists, and I like it better like that. It's just a bit harder, so it gives it a bit of an edge.
But very tight lyrics. They're not a word wasted, is there?
No, I think it's good to be, economical and to sort of cut out the waste, so to speak.
Talking about the album, is the whole thing based on personal experiences? I'm not looking for a thread that runs through the album. I'm just asking you because they're all story songs, aren't they? Situation songs.
Most of the songs are personal relationship songs. There's not a lot of social comment. There's a bit in Night Saying She's the Boss that is a sort of social comment. I think that personal relationships are obviously very important in pop music. I think writing is to get the listener to believe it's personal is an achievement. That if the listener believes that's your personal experience, then that's you've achieved that. That's they felt that's come from the heart. The actual reality of it might not be that it is totally from the heart. It might be half from the heart. It might be half from the observation of your best mate, or it might be just lovers on the street corner or something, behaving in a certain way or in a cafe and just observing them and mixing that up with your own personal experiences and making it more rich than even your own personal experience is.
How cynical are you?
Well, considering, everything, I don't think I'm too cynical, but I'm pretty hard-boiled sometimes. But I've got my sort of soft bits.
Well, what are they?
Well, everyone has a romantic side and everyone has a cynical side, and I'm no exception.
So tell us about the soft bits.
Well, the soft bit is like, I can get carried away with a movie. Maybe I got carried away at Officer and a Gentleman even. Maybe. I can't really remember. It's just a movie I remember of being slightly emotionally involved in.
Did you cry?
No, I didn't cry. You can cry at movies for unknown reasons. You don't think you're going to. I think it's good to, English people are not supposed to let emotions out, and that's supposed to be, especially the men. And I think I don't want to go around blubbing all the time either, though. Of course, that's not very good. But even in songs like Hard Woman, you say, well, one of the lines is, I gave her laughter, she wanted diamonds. I mean, so in that, it is sort of seriously romantic, but it's also got a kind of hard edge to it.
From the new Mick Jagger solo album. By this time we were starting to ease up and lay back a little. Mick had drunk 2 bottles of fairly strong French beer, and we got onto the subject of the new video. The first video for the single is out, of course. That's Just Another Night. But I understood there were 4 or 5 more.
What I wanted to do is something I really wanted to do since the 60s, I guess, which is like to take an album and kind of have a video that went around it and involved some of the same themes of the lyrics and the feeling of the song. So around about halfway through the record, I started to talk about the record and the way it was going to influence the videos with Julian Temple, who directed the last Stones videos, Undercover and She Was Hot, and lots of other people. It was well known for the Kinks by one. And the producer can be in the other side of the booth and listening and seeing it sounds good from his point of view. When the actual take's going, I like to be screaming my head off and dancing in the middle of the room. And it's all to do with my feet, really. I just stand up.
Feet?
Yeah, I mean, I just like to feel the groove. If I can't feel it and I can't dance to it, then it doesn't mean anything.
So you do about as much in the studio as you do on stage?
Yeah, I like to work in a really big studio with,
It would have to be.
Yeah, I like to jump around and that's what gets them all going. I don't like to sit there, everyone behind glass and looking like dummies.
So you're a performer, not a recorder?
Yeah, both. I mean, I think you should... I mean, I like performing in the studio, but you don't want to go too far. But when you're starting off on a tune, it really helps to get the rhythm section going when you see the singer really working at it and sweating. And that's why I like to play guitar. I'm a useless guitar player, but I can keep the beat going.
Secrets from the new Mick Jagger album she's to buy. You're back on the treadmill, really, because you've got a new album out and a new single which is doing well in the charts in Britain. And now, of course, you're starting to record again in Paris with the Stones.
We've been recording for the last 2 weeks, getting songs in shape and things like that.
So you actually go into the studio without songs, do you?
No. Going to see with the songs and, play them, work in different ways of arranging them.
And when you go back on the road?
Yeah, but we're supposed to be going in the late summer back on the road.
How many dates will you do?
I don't know. Probably about 50.
They're saying that you have a rigid fitness deal that you go into before you actually go on tour. Is that true?
Yeah. I think you've got to. If you're going to do 50 shows more or less on a trot, you've got to be pretty fit. I mean, it just wears you out, just the travelling part of it.
So what do? Jump up and down and do press-ups?
Yeah, well, the whole number, yeah. I hate to even think about it. I mean, in the meantime, you've got to keep yourself pretty fit, otherwise the body's in for a terrible shock. But you've got to keep yourself fit. If you're going to play 2 hours on stage, you've got to be pretty fit because just to sing, your lungs have got to be in good shape. So running helps your lungs, even if you don't want to run on stage. If you stand still, you still need lungs.
Oh, you look immaculate now.
Lung power.
Do you do it all in Paris? I mean, do you still run here? Or?
Yeah, run around the wood here in the park and everything. I hate running, actually, to be perfectly honest. But it is one of the real efficient ways of keeping fit.
Do you do that every day?
No, every other day.
And you don't enjoy it?
No.
Because there are members of the Stones who would see that, would have thought as being not a good thing to do.
But they probably can't do it.
Let's get back to you. Now, the single is going to be a hit in Britain.
Hope so.
When did you come over and do the pops?
Well, I haven't been asked, but we'll see what happens.
Why not?
I haven't done that since it moved to London.
Haven't you?
No. And that was in 1965. So I don't see it happening.
That was Jagger. I'd like to thank all the people concerned with that. The little guy at CBS Disc in Paris, the air hostess who took me over the water, and also, more importantly than anything, the BBC tape recorder that managed to make it possible to record me.